McGrath. All right, let's go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Your Honor, this is a motion for protective order and motion to quash. And basically on March 24th, Mr. Tobolowski reached out to defendants and asked if we wanted to cancel hearings, depositions, etc., and stay the case, or alternatively move the case forward, but do things by video and things like that to move the case forward. And I talked to my client about it, and Mark is 75 and Harvey, the two partners, Harvey's 80. And so what they don't want to happen is this continue on and their kids have to take over this dispute. So they said, we want to move forward. And Mr. Tobolowski wanted Mark Richmond's deposition and Harvey's. He dropped Harvey's, and I'm not sure if it's because he's 80, but he still wanted to take Mark's deposition. And so we said, that's fine. And this is after I've got all the dates. March 26th, we gave a date of May 7, which is, I think, this Thursday, provided it's done remotely. And we've explained and we've attached, there's at least 10 communications where we said, Mark is 75, I'm at risk. And Mr. Tobolowski's told me he's at risk too, but Mark's wife has 35% lung function, and he's, I don't even meet with him. So we've done everything by phone and that kind of stuff because it's serious. And so anyway, we offered either to do it where everybody's virtual, because if Mr. Tobolowski he's demanding that he be present with Mark. So if he's present with Mark, then I have to be present with Mark, etc. So we don't want that to happen. And so that's why we said, let's do it all virtually, even the court reporter, so she's safe. Also, another wrinkle to this is that Mr. Tobolowski has filed a vacation letter for a month during the period when this trial is scheduled. So necessarily he's going to be moving for continuance. And we let him know, look, we don't want to get in the way of your wedding, for goodness sakes. But the case, if the court is going to want to move the case so he can get married and be off for a month, then I don't see any emergent need. I do understand I like to depose my plaintiff or defendant personally and look them in the eye and all that. But I've been doing the main plaintiffs in big complex cases in my office from home, and it's been no different, seamless. So so my suggestion was either we do it remotely and we move the case forward, or move it out a little bit. If this is all going to lift up and everybody's safe, we're not trying to stop the wheels of progress. We just want everybody to be safe. So I would ask that either we do it all remotely, including Mr. Tobolowski, and or alternatively, because he is going to have to file for a continuance or move his wedding, that we just move it out a small bit to where we're all safe.
Tobolowski.
Thank you, Judge. For the most part, Ms. Compton addressed a handful of, I think, background issues I was going to raise. So I'll skip over those and get to the point, which is, after multiple discussions with my clients, this is, so the court is aware, a intra-family dispute. So my clients are the nieces and nephews of Mr. Richmond, the defendant. And there have been some serious allegations lodged back at my clients about things like defamation. And because of my client's belief about what may go on at a deposition if I am not present, and because of the value I also see in being present at a deposition, we've decided to stand firm in our request that at least I be there. My clients would attend remotely. Excuse me. My clients would attend remotely. However, we feel it's important for me to be there for a handful of reasons. And having been to the office, yes, Judge.
Mr. Tobolowski, I'm sure you're familiar with the district court's emergency order on the COVID-19 crisis, and it provides that all depositions are to move forward, and it is not a basis to quash that you can't attend in person. And so if that's your basis, we can kind of short circuit this. If there's some other reason, and it doesn't sound like there is, then I understand your client's desire, but there's been a policy decision made by the judges, and I'm going to enforce it, that all depositions are to proceed remotely. So is there anything else that you wanted to raise?
No, admittedly, Your Honor, Ms. Compton and I discussed both the district court's order and this court's specific emergency order, and I clearly misunderstood the language. I thought a refusal to allow me to attend in person was not grounds to quash. I did not understand it was the opposite, that I couldn't demand to be in person, as Ms. Compton, I think, read the order. So I apologize, that's my misunderstanding. We would not be here today had I not understood the order differently.
All right, so we'll go forward on May 4th.
May 7th.
May 7th.
May 7th, I apologize, today's May 4th. Great. So I guess I'm a little unclear procedurally. So this was a motion to quash by Mr. Tobolowsky or by Ms. Compton?
Ms. Compton, I represent Mark Richmond as one of the partners, and that's the person they wanted to depose. So we're trying to protect him and his family, filing the motion for protective order and motion to quash the deposition. That was scheduled for May 7th only because they were asking that he be there in person.
Okay. All right. So I guess to the extent that the deposition is going to be ordered to proceed forward on May 7th remotely.
Thank you,
Judge.
Honor.
I think that the defendant's proposed order sets out the court's ruling pretty perfectly. And it just states that I will amend the deposition notice to provide a link for opposing counsel to join in. And so I will do
And
that.
when is this case set for trial?
November 10th.
November 10th. Okay. Yeah, who knows what our situation is going to be by then, if we're going to be doing jury trials. Hopefully we'll be doing jury trials by then, but who knows? We'll go ahead and do you guys, there's a vacation. Are you getting married then, Mr. Tobolowsky? Is that the situation?
Well, I am, Judge. My wedding has already been bumped once. It's actually just got bumped to October 31st. And so assuming it doesn't get bumped again, Ms. Compton is right. I will need to file a motion for a continuance unless we can get it resolved before then, which I think would be preferable for all of us, but
I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hope it works out, and go ahead and file a motion for continuance if that's once you figure that out, and we'll deal with it then. And I'll go ahead and sign the order submitted by Ms. Compton.
okay.
Thank you. And Your Honor, we did already tell Mr. Tobolowsky that although it is in the best interest of my clients, because they're so old, to get this done, that they obviously don't want to get in the way of Mr. Tobolowsky's wedding. So the motion for continuance will be unopposed as long as we try to work together to get the earliest date the court has available.
So I understand this situation, and I can't predict the future, but there is definitely a reasonable scenario where if we start going back to trials, say in July or August or September, whenever that happens, that we're going to be just absolutely swamped with trials. Is this a jury or non-jury case?
Jury.
Jury. It's going to be difficult, to say the least, to accommodate. I've always been very, very liberal on granting continuances. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not going to make Mr. Tobolowsky miss his wedding, but working with attorney schedules and things like that is going to be harder to do, because I could definitely see the situation where we're just absolutely swamped with trials, and we're just going to be trying them back to back to back to back. And so just be aware of that when you're making your plans. Sometimes, when I was an attorney, I always thought kind of about just my cases. And when you're a judge, you kind of have to look at more of the big picture. And the big picture is that we may have just a ton of cases that we need to get resolved, and we won't be able to, some of the accommodations we were able to make in the past may not be feasible. And so just be aware that, we'll work around Mr. Tobolowsky's wedding, but a lot of other stuff, it may just be you're going to get tried when you get tried.
Sounds fair, Judge. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Honor.
guys. We'll see you soon, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Stop.